Okay, we're live. All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Coach Lamont Bond. This is episode 3 of Coach to Coach. Today, we're changing up the pace with these gentlemen here. We've had a lot of sprint coaches. We've had one distance coach. I'll count Bruce Jackson as a distance coach right now.
He
Uh,
counts.
I know. I'll count him. We've had some throws coaches. We've had some people that dabble in the jumps and the multis, but this time we've got some accomplished middle distance and distance coaches, and I'll let these gentlemen introduce themselves before we get started. Go for it, gentlemen.
I mean, I'll go first because I'm to your left on the screen.
Okay.
All right, my name is Greg Metcalf. I currently coach at the University of Texas. This is year number 3, so I coach men's middle distance and long distance athletes. Previous, I was the head track coach at the University of Washington for 20 years, something like that. And I got my coaching start at Auburn University. Was lucky enough to get hired by the late great Harvey Glantz. And so, yes, so that's where I am right now.
Cool.
Mark Thorne, track and field cross country university, 15th or 16th year, in charge of the program. Like I said, I'm over the middle and long distance and cross country group, men and women.
Forrest Braden. I'm at William and Mary, going to my 8th year at William and Mary. Graduated from Boise State University, spent a year at Gonzaga, and 8 years at UCLA.
Greetings, everybody. This is my name is Richie Bean. I'm the head track and field coach at Alabama State University, and I've been coaching for a little while. Been on the block for a minute, and I coach middle distance, and whatever else I need to coach.
We're gonna call you experienced. That's what we're gonna do. That's what we're gonna do.
I like that.
Yeah, we're gonna call you experienced. We ain't gonna call you OG and nothing like that. We're just gonna call you experienced. Sounds like a Mercedes or a BMW model right there. Classic,
Okay.
classic and experience, right?
Yes,
Yes.
So, to kind of start it off, Greg kind of touched on his beginning of his coaching journey. But how did each of you get into coaching, track and field coaching?
My journey started probably in high school. Was a captain, freshman.
You breaking up a little bit, Mark. You still breaking up. I can hear every other word.
Okay, I'm not sure what's wrong with the phone. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Everything?
yeah.
Okay, like I said, I started in high school, captain, little group, college, freshman year. So, I'm one of the team captains, and my little group to make sure the guys can practice, be on time, workouts, and so my journey started. I got a little itch for the profession. After I graduated from here, my program, and eventually supplement program, and got pulled in to be interim coach back in '07. Was your season, and the president of the university was impressed with how I get going. And I said, yeah, I would like to. Um, and he brought in a new coach, kept me on as assistant coach. Then in 2010, that coach left. So your time stepped in, had thought about being a head coach. It was so much beyond whistle and the stopwatch. That whole lot to learn, and I went and get my level 1, level 2, try to learn much.
Gotcha. Whoever one takes the next stick here.
And I'll take it. I'll go ahead. I always loved the sport. Running at Boise State, just wanted to stay in the sport in some way. Always figured, after the competitive running days were over, that going to coaching, stay in the sport. Loved, everything that the sport gave back to me, and just love being a part of it, and have had some good mentors over the way. One of the guys that really pushed me towards coaching was Pat Tyson, the first guy I worked with at Gonzaga, legendary Washington high school coach, current Gonzaga coach. Steve Prefontaine's roommate back at Oregon. Talk about OGs. There's an OG right there. So he really inspired me from an early age as a runner, and then as a coach as well. So getting my start with him was huge. And it just the love of the sport, and hopefully trying to help young runners out and kids out, and motivate them in that kind of way, inspire them in a similar way that I was inspired. And that was kind of my start into coaching, was that volunteer assistant at Gonzaga University under Pat Tyson.
Cool.
I remember seeing Greg Metcalf day one on the job at the first meet in September there at UW.
What was the name of that meet?
Sun Dodger.
Yes.
I was trying to blank.
You're dodging the sun for sure. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Seattle, you are.
All right, I'll go next. My path is maybe a little bit different. I got to my internship for elementary education and realized after 5 years of college, I didn't want to teach school. So I needed something else to do. So I decided to go to grad school and work on my master's, and my college coach said, "Hey, I want to send you over to Alabama State and under Coach Horace Crump and until you figure your life out." So and that's what started my journey into coaching. I knew in starting in elementary school, really, or middle school, I said I wanted to be a teacher, and did it all the way through college. Stuck with my major, and realized probably 2 weeks in, like, these little kids not for me. So let me try coaching out. And my college coach at Alcorn State University gave me, I don't know if you guys remember, this really thick book that had all the events in it. And she said, "Good luck." And I still have that book to this day. And that was my first level one coaching without going to level one. Was she take this book, and this is your coaching Bible, and good luck. And so I came over to Alabama State, and I started on my master's as a GA. And after I got my master's, I was looking for jobs, and ASU said, "Hey, we'll hire you on full time as assistant coach and college instructor." And I stayed there and went from being a GA to assistant coach, and then ended up being a head coach. And so I really have enjoyed my tenure here. Been presented opportunities, but I'm kind of a old school soul. You grow where you plant it. If you plant it, it'll grow. And we got something going that has worked. And once it started working, it's been working for years. And kind of created a philosophy for the program, and that's what I stuck with. And I've been blessed throughout this career to have numerous student athletes to get degrees and move on and be great citizens.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
I'll join in because I never assumed that people who are watching this know my story. But I grew up around coaching. My father was my high school coach. He and several other coaches in the Chattanooga, Tennessee area founded my track club, the Chattanooga Jets. So I grew up around it, and was blessed to go to the University of Kentucky and run under my coach, Daryl Anderson, who was an assistant coach under Don Weber at Kentucky at the time. And I got into it. Literally, I was in the AmeriCorps program that Bill Clinton had, the athletes and service branch. And they were looking for people to go in and kind of serve as mentors for different age groups. I immediately jumped on the high schoolers because I watched my dad teach middle school for a lot of years and coach high school. And I just don't think I like middle school people. So I jumped into that and was doing some mentorship at a local high school, Bryan Station High School in Lexington, Kentucky, and working in a resource office. One day I came in, I had a Kentucky track and field sweatshirt on, and the kids just literally just kind of swarmed me. And we did a couple of things that year, and they convinced me to go because I couldn't find anything else better to do between 2 and 6 on a daily basis. And did a couple of things, and John Kennison, the throws coach at Kentucky at the time, contacted RN Ball at Titusville High School and went down there and did a couple of things down there. And I realized I just didn't want to teach, and I didn't want to disservice that community by not being a present and involved teacher in the community. It wasn't anything other than that. Pay was fine, and took a chance and went to Marshall University in Eastern Kentucky after that. And then my guy Greg Metcalf here hired me at Washington, and we had a great time at Washington, and met Coach Forrest Braden over here when I got to UCLA, and it's just been a journey ever since. So, but what I really kind of want to start touching into in this episode is just kind of, middle distance and distance racing. I mean, the surge in these performances, the Americans are medaling in setting world records and breaking national records on an unbelievable clip. Probably the last 9 to 7 years, Centrowitz and all of them. And, I just really kind of want to kind of touch, like, what do you think is contributing to the surge in these performances? Like, where did all this come from and how did we get here?
If you just talk about this indoor season specifically, you look at what Josh Hoey has done indoors. He breaks the 1,000-meter, American record at Penn's new track. He turns around, runs 1:43 point at Millrose. And then you look at what, your Red Nagoose does, breaks the world record, then it gets broken 5 days later. You look at the host of Americans that at Millrose run under 350. If 2 college guys have run under 349, then to go watch, Grant Fisher and Cole Hawker go 7:22 and 7:23. And then, I was lucky enough. I was at Boston last weekend and watched Grant Fisher go run 12:44, and he led the last half of it. I talked to him afterwards briefly, and he just, he said, "Hey, that was hard." He's run 3 races. He ran 3 PRs. And I think, you've seen enough track and field. And I think right now it is simply one thing, man. The ceiling has been removed. And, when the great Roger Bannister ran under 4 minutes for a mile, it's something that it was impossible, couldn't happen. And then within the next year, 8 guys do it. And now I don't know what the number is, but I think last year there were 100 plus collegiates that ran under 4 minutes. And that number I don't know what it was last weekend in this country, but, to answer it simply, there's lots of different answers to it, but I think it's about ceiling removal. You see your buddy do it. You see 348, you see 352, 355 isn't going to make the NCAA championships. Okay. And I think now it forces coaches, you got to coach your tail off. And I think coaching is better. Tracks are better. Shoes are better. And is there one specific thing? No, I think it's the whole host of those things. But if you said at BU last weekend, I think that we were there last year. A kid from MIT runs 355 and heat 10 or something like that. The place goes crazy. It's just fun time to be a distance runner in this country.
And everything Greg said. Training is better. Practice, use, knowledge, then the competitive basis. The guys are off of summer training is good. Then they have a great cross country season that carries that momentum going.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I go ahead.
Oh, well, I mean, I think all that stuff's true. I think another thing that it seemed like right around COVID, when people just had these big blocks of time just to train, and like the people who really wanted to get after it, man, they just got after it. And that was, it's kind of, you could see the people who really didn't want to get after it, didn't get after it. And the people who wanted to get after it, got after it, and having almost like that chunk of time. There's no races. It's just training. You got to do something. So you're getting after it. I mean, that has been maybe underrated, maybe. And then the sharing of knowledge, I mean, there's so many different things, so many platforms and everything that you can find coaching knowledge. The runners, get that knowledge, even just Instagram and TikTok and whatever. That's just everywhere. You can see what people are doing, and you start believing and you start dreaming.
And it makes, and you guys really hit on some of the points that I would definitely 100% agree on. Just the ability to have fun with workouts and having so many different bodies to be able to write those styles of workouts where, again, you can have from the elite to some of the youngest developmental athletes you can get, where some of the basic times that you was really, really good. Now you get in walk-on students that's running those times, and your scholarship athletes are at that ceiling. And it doesn't matter if you're at a Power 5 or a Group of 5 or 8. It's like the spectrum of athletes, whatever level you get, it's the talent level. It's just hitting another high. And I agree with you. Once COVID hit, a lot of athletes had that time. Coaches had that time. And then, again, modern technology, being able to track workouts better. You don't have to, follow an athlete around in a car and make sure. I mean, you literally can sit at the desk and track where they're running. And then now you put the data in, and then you have things in the weight room where you put in information and it tells you exactly, this athlete giving you their best, or they playing with your emotions that day as a coach. And one thing I do believe in, stats don't lie, people do. And when you do certain things at certain parts of the season, you take that in and you put it into whatever data that you have, and it's going to tell you exactly what's going to happen or close to it. And these athletes talk. And it makes us more accountable as coaches, because they know if you know what you're talking about or if you don't. So
information is so easily shared. Like, I have a former athlete, his name's Justin Rinaldi. He coaches Josh Owie. He coaches that grade 8 track club in Melbourne. But I worked with him for 1 year at Auburn University. But he'll post stuff. I have people following his Instagram all the time, but I'll watch, Peter Bull do some workout, and I'm on there asking Justin, how much recovery are we taking? How fast is he running? He's got great play. They have grass tracks all over Melbourne. It's incredible. But information, there are very few secrets anymore. All right. Yeah. And in the internet, and most of you are the same way. If there's something you see, I'm not afraid to go DM some guy and ask him some question. And I think, and you're right.
Absolutely.
The kids now, they know if you are full of it or not. And if you can, as a coach, talk about what it is you're doing, then you don't get buy-in. All right. And I've always said this, man, running and success in track and field is a lot like your belief in Santa Claus. Okay. If you don't believe, you don't receive. Okay. But kids, and that's it. So you add all these things up, and right now, man, it's wild time out there.
Man, it is insane. Like, I was looking at my old 800 PR. I couldn't make it to regionals. I think I was 18th in the country that year.
You would have risen to the occasion, though.
We all believe that. Okay, for sure.
I believe that, but that's 30 years ago. I can't talk about that now. But yeah, so has talent identification changed with the advent of this information and technology? Are we identifying different types of athletes that we didn't identify or didn't have access to before?
I think just high school kids, they're running fast. That young kid from the state of Texas, ran 146 and change indoors. I'm no genius, but I just identified talent right there.
Yeah.
That kid's good. But I think high school coaches, I'm 55 years old. In the late 80s in this country, I think the spring of 1987, there were 3 young men that ran under 9 minutes for 3,200 meters, and maybe there were 5 under 9:10, no one under 150, maybe one guy, maybe 2. But now, shoot, the Arcadia Invitational has all that times 10. Yeah. And it's just, again, it's trickle down from the top all the way to high school kids. And now you're looking at it. So, your job as a coach right now is to go identify, what young person that you're recruiting, hey, who's ready to go take the next step to go from 150 to 800 meters to 144. And so, yes, that's talent identification. So that's figuring that out. Yeah, is a challenge.
So go ahead.
Some of that goes back to, it's depending on what style coach you are or whatever, it's a certain eye or certain something that you look for. And those are some of the things I look for that's going to gel well within our program. I have levels of students that when I'm looking for something, I look at, okay, how are they going to do within the conference? If I can get them to an NCAA regionals, do they have NCAA national championship? Can I get them on a 4x4 if they're a 4.8 runner? And there's a certain type of look, a certain type of bounce that I see at that particular meet. What's crazy is I've seen a walk-on kid come in running 225, and I was like, this is a 205 kid. She just hadn't been coached yet. And it's just a certain mechanics. And maybe day one of that workout, that athlete may pass completely out. And I'm like, that's fine. Give me a year. So when we at these meets, you identify those things. And now one of the biggest things when looking at student athletes at various levels is that the biggest thing, can they handle coaching? How many people are going to be involved in you trying to coach them? And can they, you have to know yourself as a coach. Can they handle you both mentally and physically? And I think a lot of time nowadays coaches miss that. They're looking at the talent, but they're not looking at the full person. And because the athlete may have the time, they may not be a good person for the personality and what we trying to get done on the track. And because that's where the success has come. That's why you see a lot of athletes, they may be running at a certain level here, but they get to it because they're like, what happened? Or a person may be with this coach and they get to this time and then good old fashioned transfer portal, and the kid just never gets to where they were going. Well, maybe that particular coach and that particular training worked best for the whole student. So it's about identifying that talent and being honest with yourself as a coach, being honest with the student athlete, and knowing as much information about that person besides what they do in training if they're going to be successful with you or not.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think vetting the student athlete, you know, coming in, you got to talk to the coach. You got to watch them run. Obviously, you're looking at marks and stuff like that, but there's all these other things. You got to get them on campus. You know, are they a fit on campus? Is it a good match? Like, I don't want somebody to come in if it's just not going to be a good fit, you know, training wise, school wise, whatever it is.
Definitely, you know, we all have our standards and fit the program, coaching fit our staff. We work out, you know, a lot of kids, sometimes in the fall, we work out early in the morning, like 5:30, 6 o'clock. A lot of kids don't get up that early to work. So we identify all those things in the process and let them know expectations of the program up front, you know, trust, respect, and accountability. That we go by and we go bring kids into our program.
Gotcha.
I think that's a good point there. You know, just the expectations, laying that out for the recruits coming in. Like, these are the expectations, and like beforehand, this is you got to come in with this kind of mentality. These are the expectations coming into the program.
Yeah. How do you guys combat that? You know, there's so much access to information now. How do you guys combat that within your athletes? Because now they have access to other athletes. They have access to all these opinion boards and, you know, the LR people and the message boards and all that stuff. People troll, you know, they're always trolling. How do you combat all of that as you're building someone up into that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think part of it is communication and expectation. You know, I think if you build rapport, you build culture, you know, then the lines of communication, they'll hopefully find their answers with, you know, the person that is at practice. But hey, these kids all have free time, you know, they search and, you know, but this is about honest, you know, exchange of information. And when a kid asks a question, I think you as a coach, you got to be able to answer that question. And if you don't, I tell kids all the time, if I don't know an answer, I've had a kid sit in my office, you know, a year ago, you know, kid ran 146 last year. He's asking me a question. And I said, hey, who's the guy? Who's your idol? And he says, Nick Symmonds. All right. I go, well, let's call him. And so I called Nick Symmonds on the phone, and, you know, Nick and I are now chatting. Cole Lindhorst is now asking questions, and he goes to practice. He goes, God dang, Coach Metcalf just calls Nick Symmonds. He answers the phone, you know. And Matt Centrowitz came to practice a couple years, and I set him up with our freshman guys off campus to go for a run. And so I think you got to do things and communicate with the kids, you know, to create buy-in. And then when they see that you work hard and that you are committed to doing this, then they'd be, not that the journey is without pitfalls. All right. But I think it smooths the road out a little bit and clears the obstacles so you get a chance to be successful.
For me, one of the greatest tools for me is I have these two little things right here that stick out and they're pretty big, right? I listen. I do a lot of listening. You'll be amazed for me sometimes what you'll hear and learn just when they're just out there warming up. or just having casual conversation. Sometimes my headphones may be on, no music anymore. I sit and talk. Or, after a film session, we'll just sit there and we'll talk about life, about training, about some of the people that's in their friend circles. And one of the biggest things that we could ever do wrong as a coach, I feel like, is when you act like you know something and you don't know. There's a lot of new stuff that I'll say, man, what is this? Tell me about it. Even some of the new language or some of the new warm-up trends and things like that. I give a little so that I can get more. And so you'll pick up a lot of those things in training, or, I'm not a technology as savvy person, but it's like, Coach, we're going to come to the office today. We're going to pull up Instagram. We want to see you this. We think we ought to incorporate this. Well, tell me why we should. And it's, well, this works because this athlete do it. And I may have seen it before, but I want them to have a part of the decision making that's going to go into their training. Mm-hmm. So that raises the level of accountability of what's happening. If I go out there every day and I say, you're going to do this, and there's no question to ask, you do what I do. And I've coached like that before and was successful, but it got better when we worked I consider it a partnership. Mm-hmm. Young lady recruiting for the upcoming year. She was having some things. She came on a visit. I said, tell me one of the things about your race that you struggle with the most. And we got to the highest level of the building where we could overlook the track. And I said, that won't be your problem this year, but I need you to do your research prior to coming here. And that's one of the things we're going to work on. And one of the things I said, and I just, from her mentality, I just said, hey, I work for you. And it was all in from that point. So I just think the more we listen, the more information that we continue to learn about student athletes and put back into them and give them ownership. And that's one of the questions I asked. Do you want to be an owner or are you a worker? And when they feel like they have ownership, there's more accountability and the success rate rises.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mark.
One of the things that I kind of communicate, I like where you work, where you are, where you're going. Getting better, everything is working, keep listening, keep working, definitely going to get better. The proof is in the pudding. Look at the history of the kids that came through and was successful, that won conference championships, make it to regionals. Mm-hmm. Playbook is right there. Just believe what you're doing. You want to get proven, just keep working.
Yeah. I think just building those relationships and making sure they know that they can trust you and they can come in, they can talk to you, and you can chat about training and all this stuff, and building that relationship is really key. And then we can talk about those things. We can talk about what happens if you're looking at externally, if you're looking at everybody else and you're not focusing on yourself. And there's a lot of good stuff out there, but we have to train the way that you need to train to be successful, not what everybody else is doing. So, but I think it starts with building trust. I think that's the number one thing, and being able to just communicate with the student athletes.
Gotcha.
I got a question for you guys right quick, if you don't mind.
Yeah, come on.
With middle distance and distance, do you guys see it now that a lot of it is creeping more toward the speed side training now?
I mean, I believe, yes. I think that, when you have conversations with coaches, it's funny. I've seen it more. You look at what, Wendell McCraven, Cooper Cawthorn, the kid's been 354, he's 149. Man, they sprint once a week. Talking to Pete Watson Monday, they do, flying 30s, they do 30-meter wickets, they do a sprint set. But I believe wholeheartedly, yes. I think right now, it's the combination of, there's lots of threshold development that goes into what distance runners are doing right now. But I think, man, you have to be able to improve, two things at the same time. And right. I think building, hot top end speed, running at high velocity and having great mechanics and doing it. But I think more people are using, I think you're in the weight room, people are doing plyos and distance runners are squatting now. And, and they're not just in their squat, and they're doing it with a purpose and measuring how fast the bar is moving. Mm-hmm. And so I think right now it's the perfect blend of, hey, you have to add in all the ingredients to go get there. And I think there's a period of time when it was all just interval-based training. But I think that created there's limitations to that. And so now if you expand, the zones that include, threshold development with middle distance kids as well. And then,
Mhm.
hey, at the end of the day, how fast can you run? And I think, that's why I loved our old schedule. We were in the Northwest. We used to have dual meets all the time. And so we would have dual meet with Washington State, with Oregon, 1-4 meet with UCLA, but it gave middle distance kids a chance to go get the stick in a situation that matters. And, if you run a couple relay teams, it gives that, it gives the 151 kid a chance to go develop. It gives the 204 girl a chance to go do something cool. But I think, Coach Vaughn mentioned a guy named Bruce Jackson, kid for us at Washington. The kid walked onto our team, and he went to Nathaniel High School, ran 155 and 48 point in high school. Well, this dude, we're at the Pac-10 meet at UCLA one year, and I think we ran 303 that year.
That's
and
great.
In the stadium, they said Bruce Jackson, University of Washington, splits 44-8. All right. And, he did it in large part because he was racing one of his high school rivals that was UCLA.
Mhm.
We had a couple of kids on that team, Bruce Jackson, Ryan Brown, that had walked onto our teams that on that day ran 45-6 and 44-8. Okay.
Wow.
And, but getting a stick, man, so yes, is it speed development? Yes. But I think getting a stick and, and running with purpose, man, I think that with the middle distance folks specifically, it's a difference maker.
Yeah. I think the DMR has really helped in that. The development of the DMR, especially indoors, these kids are getting, and especially the way the DMR is staged now at these meets. These are qualifying. Like we got to hit this now because, we get into this conference situation. Everybody's going to be doing their individual events and doubling, tripling back. So they're getting these high intensity, go fast situations, early in their development during indoor, coming off of cross country for some of them. So I think the DMR has really helped, especially like, the 3K, 5K guys, the mile. I think that, seeing guys, I remember when 925 was really doing something in the DMR and guys were closing out in 356s and 355s, man. They're closing out in 350s now. It's ridiculous. So I think that's part of it, is getting those type of situations where they know they're going to have to run fast and close fast. I think that, just my observation of distance running as a sprint coach and touching into, I've touched the 1500 as a coach maybe once or twice, but I'm just noticing like they're going fast and they're in those situations.
I think they're more distance kids now because they see, I know our kids see it. My distance kids know last year, they know what they can run for a flying 30. Okay. And I think that there was a time and place that some guys, what do you want me to do now? But, and our kids, they see Julian Alford run 299 and they go, I can't do that. Okay. Wow. But our kids know. And so, and I think it's important, to stand there and I'll videotape it. I'll time it. It's hand time. It's not entirely accurate, but they want to know. And I think having middle distance kids sprint, run high end, in a safe setting, I think it's incredibly valuable. And so if you can expand the ranges of what my threshold is, what my top end speed is, then you get a coach in the middle. And I think that's a massive difference right now, I think, in what's going on in the middle distances for sure.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So, for a program like for me right now, I'm trying to create a different type of distance culture in here than what we've had previously. What would be each of yours advice for somebody trying to get a middle distance culture started at a program, maybe for a new coach coming into a situation or somebody who's trying to rebuild it? What would be your advice to kind of get that culture settled up and going in the right direction?
Vaughn, I'm about to send you an invoice for this one.
There's a reason why I got you on here now. You and Mark. There's a reason why I got you on here now. Go for it, man.
I mean, simply, it starts with student athletes, and it starts with getting the right bodies. And I think, man, coaching, I say this to coaches all the time. One of the single most important things we do in coaching is saying the word no. All right. Saying no to the wrong person is just as important as saying yes to the right person. All right. So you getting buy-in and getting kids and showing them day one and being structured and having a plan, and then being able to tell your kids what the plan is. And then, man, you need something. You need something that ignites the flame. All right. You got to get a win early on. All right.
Yeah.
And I think it's whether it's however you celebrate it. Is it celebrating PRs? Is it celebrating heat wins? Is it celebrating conference scores? Whatever it is. And you got to build it. You got to talk about it. And I think the more you do it, then kids, young kids, they find they got to get a win early on, as a freshman or sophomore to get them to the next level. But I think it's just as much as about, I think practice, the 30 minutes before you start working out, it's incredibly important, but the hour after practice, when kids are done warming up, cooling down and they're just chatting. That's I hate leaving practice and having rushed off to some meeting, because I think it's so valuable what you can learn. And I think, you've talked to great coaches that, that kids don't do that. And then you talk about 2 years later with just similar personnel, but all of a sudden these guys are all hanging out and chatting. I think once you get that, and then somebody already said this, but then once you get momentum, boom, it's game on.
Also,
Right.
if you have
Go ahead,
a lot of trails over there, you got a lot of soft surfaces for the kids to run on. They'll love that.
Mhm.
They could get their mileage in and stuff like that. Nice soft surface so to keep them healthy.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that will work in your favor.
Gotcha.
So I guess you mean focusing on your strengths. What do you have? What are your strengths? What do you bring that somebody else doesn't? But I mean, the enthusiasm, you get somebody who can, talk to the kids and I agree with what Greg was saying. I mean, you gotta be there before practice. You gotta listen to them, during, you gotta watch them. You gotta get those, get somebody in there too that maybe changes things up. Maybe it's one person that starts to change things up. One kid coming in can change the whole thing. The right kid coming in can just be the Pied Piper, bring everybody else with them. Sometimes that's all it is. And it's kind of hard. I think maybe the other thing, you got to have patience. Like you have to have patience and you have to go through those early bumps. But once you get the ball rolling, once that momentum is there, you can just keep it going. But it's hard getting that momentum going. But once it's there, you can keep it rolling. But you got to be patient. You got to just keep pushing. You got to keep pushing. You got to keep pushing. But I do think it comes down to the relationship with the athletes, and then starting with you, the enthusiasm you bring, the attitude you bring every day is really important. It's vital.
And I agree with everything that the coach is saying. And I mean, really, I echo the same sentiments. You got to love what you do, get the right culture that you want within that particular training group that you're looking for. It's not a quick fix, and it'll take you on a roller coaster sometime. I love what Coach said, get there early, stay a little bit later. For me, it's identifying people that's going to work good within what we have and what we're trying to get done. It's not going to work all the time. Again, in this sport, and even in coaching this event, it'll take you to some of the highs and some of the lows of the lows. Just when you think you got it figured out, some crazy happen. But I will say this, for me, over the years, I've been blessed to get out of it what I put into it, meaning that I try to develop relationships. Meaning like the beginning of practice is very important. I think the beginning, what we do before practice and what we do after practice has way more impact to what we do during the workout. You'll know if you're getting there if when practice is over with and everybody grabbing their bag and jetting out. Or you got to look at, hey guys, I'm ready to go home now. Because when you get those sponges and they want to know, or they can, and they's like, hey coach, what are we doing today? Or like we have our group mess and they're going to say, hey coach, which one of the workouts you want us to do today? And so they're already invested into that. And you get those things by talking to those athletes in their recruiting process. When you're talking to the athlete on the phone, I want everybody in the dog in on the Zoom, because I want to know who's going to be in the ear of that person. So because what's important to them is important to me. And then that way, once we win before we get to practice, no matter what I give them, it's going to be the right things, but the buy-in is there. And I can push them to another threshold when they think they can't go anymore because they trust the process. And so that's when, even if you're the head coach and you have a middle distance coach, you create the brand and the style that you want. So they understand your purpose and they're working within that mission of the what you want for the program and the university, and the buy-in is there. So, yeah. And man, listen, I can't tell you some of the highs that it's taken me, some of the lows that it's taken me to, but that's what make it fun. That makes you want, if you ever want to have fun, have a really good season, and you look up next year like, what the hell happened? And you got to figure out how to get it back.
That happens monthly, man. Come on.
Yeah.
One thing with the like, there's changes that are on the horizon in the sport.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And, I have an idea. I've talked to lots of coaches about, roster limits. All right. And there is an inherent kind of danger with this, when someone makes a decision, hey, like you already said it, like Mark or, Coach Bean, you said this, 800 meter kid, are they an 8.4 kid or an 8.15 kid? Can they run cross? If you get 10 athletes or 15 athletes, where does the 800 meter kid fit in this? Where does the middle distance kid fit if they can't run cross? And having an 800 kid that can go via, a quality 4x4 leg. So I think, what's going to happen, one event kids. I think with roster limitations, shoot from high jumpers to pole vaulters to 800 meter guys, we all have to make decisions. And then with the influx of, man, I'm not sure the average age of the NCAA, top 20 guys in the NCAA this fall, but man, the 18-year-old freshman kid from Austin, Texas. I mean, I'm a patient individual, but I want to see him grow and develop. But right now, I'm sorry, this is it's like the microwave, man. Show up and be great, and that's kind of contradictory to kind of where we all kind of began in the sport and got started.
Yeah. I think, because the thing that I'm hearing now from high school club coaches, parents, athletes is, oh, y'all don't develop anymore. And I think that's exactly what we do. I mean, I don't care what level you come in at, Sha'Carri Richardson didn't come in running 1072. Somebody had to develop her. Julian Offer didn't come in running what she ran, And I think it's happening across the board in every event. It's just, we're experiencing a boom in performances now. And so now the standards are changing. So now that kid that we probably would have taken, we may not be able to take now, So I think that's part of it. And I think that's going to actually, in some ways, enhance some of the performances in every event, because now everybody's going to be extremely focused. I think some of the, just efficiency in how things are going, you're not going to have 50, 60 guys in the training room anymore. You're not going to have 60, 70 women being academically tracked from your academic coordinators. There's going to be some streamlining in there that I think that's going to actually help performance, help, the academic performance of a student athlete, maybe even help some of the mental health stuff that some of these young people go through, because they're going to have a little bit more one-on-one than they may have had when there's this super large team. Maybe somebody steps up and says, okay, well, now I have coach's attention. Let me go see if I can talk to him. Or, hey, I need some help. Let me go ask for a tutor or something like that, because there's not so many people in the way. It's kind of like the pole vault. There's one mat, and if there's 18 pole vaulters, there's only one mat and just only so many poles. So how many reps are you really getting? So I think some of that is, deviled in the details on that, even with my event, sprinting and hurdling, with distance running. I think that's going to create, because I guess what you guys are sometimes speaking to, coaching's not necessarily in the workouts. It's in the communication. It's in the listening. It's in the talking. It's in the relationships that you build. And I think some of this roster limitation stuff is going to create spaces where there can be a little bit more time for listening, and more spaces for listening and communicating at higher levels. So I don't think it's all bad. There are some concerns that come with it, but I think that if we look at it in another light, there are also some advantages that can come with it, because I think, what you guys are speaking to really is just culture that you're trying to build. The teams, individuals come and go. The Bulls were awful after Jordan and Pippen and Rodman left. But the Patriots were great for a long time because even with interchangeable pieces, because the culture was there, So yeah, I think that's what you guys are speaking to. Just from a professional side, I've got, Metcalf, you've been a head coach, and Mark and Bean and I are head coaches. What are you guys looking for when as a head coach, to identify potential candidates for open positions that you've had over the years?
I get the question a lot. As we hang out at the convention, I think some of the best stuff that happens at the coaches convention is not in, it's not in some meeting room. All right. It's just hanging out and young people asking questions. And I think this sport, it's, Lamont, when we hire you at the University of Washington, I mean, Daryl Anderson and I and Walt Drenth, and we had a relationship. I'm hiring a sprint coach, and this is after, Dion Miller. Dion Miller ended up at the University of Washington because my buddy Lane Anderson was at Texas Tech. Dion was a graduate student, grad assistant at Texas Tech with Wes, and Lane Anderson sung his praises. And, so here I'm interviewing a very young Dion Miller. Okay. And he shows up, and there's a lesson to be learned in this. He shows up, met at the airport, and, God, I'm going to say this anyways. Dion was wearing a t-shirt and baggy ass pair of jeans. Okay. And I said, Dion, I'm going to be honest with you, my man. I wanted to hire you, but you walked off the plane, and I wasn't so sure. And I had a young man, he was 28 years old, I think at the time. I go, the interview begins the moment that we meet. All right. Not on the phone. Well, their heads there as well. But so I think this job is so interconnected. Just the people that and I think there's a lot of young people out there that you've got to invest in the people around you. All right. I remember as a very young coach, I was at the convention. I'm sitting at in some chairs, in San Francisco, I think, and I'm sitting with John Carlos, Lee Evans, Larry James, Orrin Richburg, and I'm the white distance guy sitting there. Okay. But I'm a track junkie, and I realize what I'm sitting with. All right. Lee Evans and I've roomed with Lee on the road. And Lee Evans is one of the greatest storytellers of all time. All right. Yeah. But I'm a young coach, and I got to learn from, arguably one of the greatest quarter milers of all time. Mm-hmm. All right. But this sport is about being connected and finding young people that, are a person, not just a young person, a person that, you can communicate with, that wants to work hard. And then you get people are going to say, Daryl Anderson ranted and raved about the things that a young Lamont Vaughn was going to go do. And then you sent me this list of all these workouts and stuff. I don't remember reading it, but I was just impressed that you had it. Okay. Yeah. But I think, just in being able to, know things, and I think, I have buddies of mine, there's a job opening at wherever, and I think you got to be connected. We are defined by the people that we make phone calls to. All right. Who are in your contacts list? Who are your, who are the 5 guys that you have, contact? They define who we are as coaches. And I think just being able to understand that, and when a job is open, make sure that, that, hey, you're having the right conversation with the right person. And then hopefully along the way, you've put yourself in successful situations and can, having coached somebody or explained, what it is that you've done.
Yeah.
I would say, relationships, fit, culture, because at our level, our culture is a little different. So you have to understand the culture of Jackson State, the culture of the HBCU, and, we go from there.
That's important.
For me, I think I've been in a pretty good situation to turn out quite a few assistant coaches to go on and do very well at numerous places. I've seen things trend differently as I get older. I don't know why they seem like they're getting younger. I don't know how that's happening. But and I'm constantly trying to learn new things for myself and understanding the current culture of the younger coaches and things like that. And some of the things that I look for has changed over the years. I had to understand my approach to mentoring had to change a little bit. Because a lot of the coaches coming in now, if you 50 plus, they're going to be younger, and those are some of the athletes that we used to coach, or some of the younger ones we should see hanging out in the lobbies, and and so forth. So and I'll be 100% honest. I would say at this point I'm in a new learning phase right now, and I'm struggling with it a little bit because there's a new wave of understanding the mindset and the mentorship and what you're looking for. Man, I've seen and heard some interesting things on interviews. I think a lot of the generation coming up now think there's this big pool of money in your first and second, third, and fourth year of coaching that's out there, and it's not. And a lot of the coaches now come in thinking they should be paid at the same level or close to it. Where, and again, I want everybody to be financially well off, but we know where we started at when we first got into this business. It wasn't for the pay. And so it's just trying to get to understand that. I was brought into coaching. When I was brought into coaching, I was taught financial accountability. I was taught just so many things outside of just the X's and O's of coaching. And when I first became a head coach, every coach that I had up until maybe the last 5 or 6 years, maybe the last 5 years, got a master's. Most people not even interested in getting an advanced degree. And I've always pushed my coach, hey, find you something else to do so that you got this multiple streams of income. I try to that same financial accountability. So to take stress off your life until you get to that point, it's like talking to the wall, and I'm trying to figure out how can I reach more, because I know what the other side of this profession looks like. And then I'm going to wrap it up, because I see so many coaches get burnt out young and they have no financial backing to show for what they've done.
Yeah.
And I just don't know how to get them to understand that now. And I got it very early. Hence why once I learned it, I never did a bunch of jumping around, because retirement and savings and all that stuff are real things. And these are some of the things that's not even taught at convention. And I think we're missing the mark on that.
Yeah. No, I think that secondary degree, I mean, I know it's helped me, my studies, pursuing a sports administration degree and as a master's. I swear I use it every day. I use all of that stuff that I learned in those classes every day. And I think, transitioning from assistant to head coach has now given me that process of studying those classes has given me to think at an administrative level instead of just, because the thing that I had to notice that I had to do was transition out of the everyday assistant coach mindset to be a head coach, to think programmatically instead of, okay, in my event group, and I think, as now in my role, as this is my second time being a head coach, and now mentoring and pouring into my current staff, I'm trying to encourage them to continue to learn more, diversify themselves, instead of just being a great jump coach or a great throws coach or a great distance coach or a great multis coach. Learn the business side of this, learn the administrative accountability, learn the compliance rules, and start becoming an expert in those things, or at least proficient in our culture. So I think that's kind of a challenge for young people coming up now, because like you said, Coach B, it's just everybody wants to come in. I want to make my money now. I'm good. I've stated this. People have liked it and retweeted my tweets and shared my stuff on Instagram, so automatically pay me my money. So I think, when we're talking about interviewing and looking at candidates, Greg, I think you touched on it, and Mark, you touched on it. It's not your resume that gets you hired. I've heard this. It's not your resume, it's your reference sheet. And to all the young coaches watching out there, or the up and coming coaches, don't just name drop on your reference sheet. If somebody's going to call them, they need to know who you are for real.
I'm going to call who you did list.
I mean, but again, it's those relationships. Yeah. You never know. They might happen at a coffee shop with Greg Metcalf, because he drinks a lot of coffee. It could happen at the convention. It can happen anywhere. You know, it can happen at the conference meet. It can happen at the NCAA meet. It can happen at the regional meets. You know, it can happen anywhere. You know, and I've been blessed, and I know I've moved forward in my career and had so many opportunities because of my references. You know, I think every stop along the way. You know, Marshall, Daryl Anderson, John Kennison, Washington, Greg. You know, I know you talked to DA and Mouse. UCLA, DA, Mouse, Vince Anderson, you know, even Clyde Hart, you know, and then I think at some point when you get, you know, you guys have built a reputation where you kind of don't lean on that as much, you know, but you've built that reputation because people have put you on over the years. So I think that that's important too. What are some of the things that, you know, kind of moving on, because we got, you know, we're going to try and see if we can fill up this hour. What trends are you guys seeing, whether professionally or athletically or educationally? What trends are you guys seeing that are going to shape what our profession looks like? Maybe it's the transfer portal and limitations, or what other things are you seeing out there that are going to shape what our profession is going to be in the future?
Man, I think so. I mean, it's an unknown, right? Like, there's a lot of unknowns out there. I think the NCAA and the Power Four, you know, and what's that going to look like, and the roster cuts and the SEC, and, you know, are the other Power Fives going to start doing that as well? Power Fours going to start doing that as well? You know, what's you know, that's going to be huge, you know, and how much money are they going to dump into football primarily, and what's that going to look like to the rest of us? I think that's a huge unknown. I think a positive is just the knowledge and the fast times. And I think running's incredibly popular, actually worldwide, and the shoe companies, and the there's a lot of money to be made in it with the Garmins and different, you know, watches and running apparel and such. And it's actually kind of boosting the sport, I think, and, you know, YouTube channels and just all of that. But I think it'll be really interesting to see with NCAA what happens with the NCAA in the coming year.
Yeah. A couple of months.
Yeah.
And I think transfer portal, NIL, like right now on our level, it seems like we the new JUCOs. You know, kids come to us, get good, and like, okay, coach, I'm hitting the portal. You know, this school offered me that, this school offered me this, and, you know, so sometimes my coaches and I, we sit and we say, okay, we might just got this kid for 2 years, 2 years. So let's see what we can get out of them.
Yeah.
For me, I think the trend is you have to be flexible. You got to be able to pivot at any moment's notice. You can't be stubborn. You got to have an open mindset. And the trend is going to go, you got to be able to move when things move and have a clear understanding and be open-minded. And then one of the greatest trend that we all can have as coaches within our programs or individuals, with all these multiple trends that's going on, create the one that works best for you so that you can enjoy it and stay in the sport. Because if you try to just live up to the expectation of all of them, you're going to experience burnout. Why? Because I started experiencing that, and I got back to the trend of loving track and those who are around me that want to love it too. Because it's kind of like that old saying, if you leave the one you love for the one you like, the one you love will leave you for the one they like. So I wake up every day. I enjoy what I do. I like it, but I can't get so in love to it, because if I get so in love, I lose out on what the purpose of doing it, because what eventually happened, it'll leave me. And I want to continue to enjoy the sport. So that's one of my greatest trends that I would recommend for most people at this point. Be flexible.
And you've done that for me in the last couple of months. So, you know, kind of talk me off the ledge on some stuff. So I know exactly what you're talking about right now.
Yes, sir.
You know, adapt and adjust.
Yep. Just when you think you figured it out, you'll get that email. Those emails you'll see, what NCAA or whatever pop up, you're like, what is it now? And you know, it's a certain time of year they're going to start coming out. You're like, oh, what has changed now? So you just be prepared.
Roll with it.
Yeah. Yeah. But okay, fellas. So we're reaching close to the end here. Before we head out, I want you guys to just kind of take a moment and just kind of, recognize somebody that means something to you, and tell us where we're gonna see you and your teams next. Give your flowers out and let us know where we're gonna see you.
That's a great question. I'm headed to College Station next week for the SEC championships. This is Texas's, first run at the SEC meet. So, my first year coaching at Auburn, the SEC meet was in Gainesville, Florida, at the O-Dome. And now fast forward to whatever, that was 1997. So here we are in 2024. So back at it, and so we'll see how the round 2 at the SEC championships goes.
Gotcha.
Okay, we getting ready for SWAC Indoor in Birmingham. See you guys there. And
Oh
I'd
yeah.
like to give my flowers to my assistant coaches, man. Coach Country, Coach Nisi, and Coach Spooner. They keep me saying they does a great job. Keep our program sustainable. They work hard every day. I'd like to give those guys some flowers.
Yeah, we're heading to the CAA championships in Virginia Beach. We're going right down the road to Virginia Beach. It's a Wednesday, Thursday meet. Should be fun. Should be a great time. I like that. I like the flowers to my volunteer assistant coach Miles Owens. Doing a hell of a job with our 800 guys. Man, he's just grinding away. Volunteer assistant, man. You need him, and he's just doing a great job. So appreciate you, Miles.
There you go.
Cool beans. Well, we're getting ready. I'm going to see these guys in Birmingham. Hopefully they don't be too hard on me. Allow me a space to get some sleep while I'm up there, because it's going to be tough. But I'm definitely looking forward to it. Flowers out to my assistant coaches, and even a special shout out to one of my newly hired assistant coaches. She really goes beyond the call of duty of giving me the space to go home a little bit earlier now, and that means so much. And with that being said, special shout out and flowers to those two queens downstairs waiting for me to get off. Without them being here and being my support and backbone, my wife and my daughters, I mean, it's just I can't imagine not doing this without their support. So definitely giving flowers to them.
Yep. We'll be with Coach Bean and Coach Thorne and the rest of the SWAC this weekend in Birmingham. Wishing everybody safe travels. Obviously, I always give my flowers out to my family, my wife upstairs who's got dinner waiting on me, and my daughter in New York City, who's my social media content creator and director and critique and all of that. But definitely want to give shout out to not only my staff, but my support staff, my academic director and coordinator, my athletic trainer, my strength and conditioning, my sports supervisor, all of those people in compliance and facilities and all of that. We can't do anything without you guys helping us out on a daily basis. But I also want to give some of my flowers, man. Look, I'm gonna say this, man. Greg Metcalf, you my guy, brother. I appreciate you. I don't know if you really know where I was when you gave me that interview. In my life and in my career, I was in a hard space, right? And not knowing what was next. And to take a chance on me, man, and I just appreciate it, man. I tell people this all the time. Before I got to Washington, the fastest 4x4 I coached was 3:12. And I'm like, I don't know what he saw in me, but I appreciate it. And then, first year there, we're 303 and going to the NCAA finals and all of that stuff, man. None of that happens without, I don't know where you were sitting in your desk or sitting at your home or on the track or whatever said, hire them and offer me that job, man. It has led to so much access for me, man. And, to meet all of these gentlemen here, like I'm not at UCLA without the stuff at Washington. I don't get to meet Forrest, so sometimes it just takes one person to just say yes, and I told my assistant this, a couple of months ago, man. Before you said yes to me, I had 22 interviews in a year and 2 years. and it was 21 no's, and you were the one yes, and I appreciate it, brother. So keep doing what you're doing,
Great
man.
decision, man. And yes, Daryl Anderson, man, appreciate it.
Yeah.
He did a great job for you. Okay.
Yeah. Hey, look, you know,
He did a great job of Washington. It's
yeah,
fantastic.
I appreciate all those people who put that name out on me and supported me. So, you know, hey, look, I give my flowers out to a lot of folks. So, because I know I'm not here. You know, I mean, Bean, Mark, you guys have talked me off the ledge, talked me off the jumping off the ledge so many times, man. Y'all just don't even know what what y'all do to help me get through the day sometimes. So, you know, I really appreciate you guys as well. So, but I want to go ahead and end it here. Everybody safe travels. I wish you and all of your people health and happiness today, tomorrow, and in the future. So with that said, you guys that are watching this, enjoy your evening, and we'll see you on the other side.
Appreciate
Awesome.
y'all.
Blessing,
I
success.
appreciate it.